Hi, I'm Mars from StrataGames, and today we are playing some more Black Sack. This is a list that has a whole bunch of cards that I've previously not really loved in my main list, but that doesn't mean that they're not good or anything. This is a list by Airplay, who is one of the premier Black Sack players in the format, one of the people who have made the most trophies with the deck, and currently has 5 trophies in this season, which is, just like the last month or so. And yeah, so they've been trying a deck that has a lot of really interesting cards, so I figured I would give it a try, despite some of my reservations. Whoa, live. Yeah, here I am, once again, live. Yeah, so we're playing a bunch of interesting new cards. So, alright, so we're playing a couple Dark Rituals, which is a card that I've tried several times, and I've never been a fan of. I know a lot of people swear by it and say that you really want to have a fast start. I find that usually it just gives you a fast turn 1, but then you have a much slower turn 3 because you don't hit land drops, and it's a little bit harder. But again, this list specifically has made, I think, 5 trophies in the last month or so. So I figured there must be something to it. So we're doing 2 Dark Rituals, 16 lands, one of which is a Baron Moor. So we also have a tap land, which, again, not usually my style. For our growers, we have 4 Bloodthorn Vampire, of course, 4 Carrion Feeder, only 3 Beetles. And this is definitely the thing that I'm most intrigued by, because I think Beetle is legitimately one of the best cards in the deck. I would, if I were trying to cut down one of these 3, I would definitely take out a Vampire over a Beetle. But again, we're just running this list as it is. For fodder, we're also not running any Nezumi Linkbreaker. We're doing 4 Infestation Sage, 4 Nested Shambler, 4 Shambling Ghast, and a 1 of Shadow Alley Denizen. This can give some unblockable, Intimidate can make it so that if your opponent doesn't have any artifact or black creatures, they just can't block our creatures, which is pretty good. And then for Shambling Ghast, part of the reason we're doing this is because we're also running Ghoulcaller's Chant instead of Unearth. So this can just return a creature card from our graveyard to our hand, or it can return 2 zombies from our graveyard to our hand. Zombies being Nested Shambler, Shambling Ghast, and Carrion Feeder. We're not playing any Curse Marauders in the main deck here, but we have some in the sideboard, that being another zombie. And then we have 6 draw spells with 4 Village Rites, 2 Corrupted Conviction. We have 2 Rite of Consumption effects, but actually only 1 Rite of Consumption. We're also playing an Essence Harvest. This is another card people have talked about potentially trying in the deck, and so I figured I'd want to give it a try here. Basically, it's Rite of Consumption, but it's an extra mana, and you don't have to sacrifice the creature in order to deal damage and gain life equal to your greatest power among creatures you control. So I think of Rite of Consumption. I like Rite of Consumption generally better because it's cheaper, and I think that if you're casting this card, you should already be winning with it, so it doesn't matter if you sacrifice the creature. But there are absolutely times where it would be nice to gain a bunch of life, especially against a burn deck, without having to lose your creature. So this I could see being very powerful, but the extra mana can also be a real drawback. And then we are playing 4 Supernatural Stamina and 4 Perigee Beckoners. Again, this is the list that they've been running. And just enough differences and good results with it that I thought I would try it out. I try out Beckoner every month or 2 because I know a lot of people like it. I've never been a big fan, but let's see what we can do with it here. Sideboard also has a couple interesting choices. Serrated Scorpion as a way to, especially against Red Rally, is nice because it can be a blocker, trade with a creature, and then also burn your opponent, but also gains you life. So it's a nice way to gain a little bit of life there. And it's actually our main life gain in the sideboard. We're not running Vampiric Link or Sylvac Lifestaff, which are the main other ones that you would be running. A couple Tragic Slips, the Curse Marauders, 3 Ashen Skin Zubera. This was something that somebody tried out, and I thought it was kind of just a fad, but some people seem to continue enjoying it. This is for the sideboard, so definitely any control or combo deck that really needs a bunch of cards in hand, we're going to be bringing these in against. We're still running a few Mesmeric Fiends to take specific cards, so we'll see how those work together. And then we have a Drown in Sorrow as well, if we do go up against elves or something like that. So yeah, like I said, lots of interesting cards. Let's just take it for a league and see how we do. Thanks to Card Market for sponsoring this video. You can now pick up my comprehensive guide to Esper Cryo Affinity, including 38 sideboard matchups, and I just put out a big update for my Black Sack guide, including a slightly different deck list. I began offering coaching sessions if you're interested in taking your Pauper game to the next level, and I'm accepting deck donations, so if you desperately want me to play a deck that I usually wouldn't play, something like elves, then you can make me do that for a small fee. I've started posting a league video every single day, not to mention streaming streaming at least a couple times a week on Twitch, but I'm not going to be able to keep that up forever unless I can get a little bit more help from the community. Any of the ways I've just mentioned are great ways to help me out, or you can even subscribe and support me on a monthly basis. After watching YouTube videos, I was surprised there was no sideboard ad there. Yeah, that's edited in later. I did realize that I always do this. My chat covers up the sideboard. So here's the sideboard cards, since nobody was actually able to see that while I was describing it. But yeah, if you watch it on the YouTube, the ad will probably be right then. All right, we got first round opponent, and I believe it's card rated Scorpion, like that. This hand doesn't seem very good to me. 3 lands. We have some fodder, but no sack outlets, no nothing really. So I think I'm gonna mulligan that one. This one's a lot better. Feeder and Beetle. No fodder at all. And the one thing I'm a little worried about is that this deck has fewer fodder creatures than others. But we're on 6. If we get a piece of fodder at all, we have Village Rites and Ghoulcaller's Chance, so it can be pretty good. If not, we're going to be in a tough spot. But Shambler's exactly what we needed. Off the top, we're going to start with that so that our Feeder or Beetle does not die immediately to a burn spell. Grab the prize with the Faithless Looting. And they're going to swing for 1. Second block, because I can get it right back. It makes it so that I can't grow these as quickly. I think we're going to block, because we have this Ghoulcaller's Chant, so I can play out Carrion Feeder. Ooh, or Shambling Ghast. And if they try to kill the Feeder, then I can just Village Rites it, and then bring back double Zombie. I think that seems good. Actually, since we got the Shambling Ghast, I think I'll just play that, though. But if they try to kill, like, bolt the Feeder, Ghoulcaller's Chant to bring them both back seems decent. And they do. And another Epicure. Okay, I don't hate the Swamp there, because that lets us get back and play both of these. So I think I'll swing for 2, and then I'll do that exactly. I could play the Beetle, but we don't have enough. Actually, I'm going to play the Beetle here, and then I'm going to sack the Shambler right away to get a treasure to start growing these, and then I'll play the Shambler. This way I have both of these growing, and they're still going to be protected from a single bolt. I think I like that a little better. They plot a Highway Robbery and play a Mountain. We have a Stamina. That's pretty good. They could have a Bolt in response, but then I still get the Village Rites it. I think since we're going to do that, I might as well do it now, because then if I get a piece of fodder, I could sacrifice it. I could sacrifice it with the Village Rites and then play something. They don't have anything there. If I sack it now, they could bolt one of these, and I wouldn't actually be able to protect it. So I think we'll just swing. They're going to block the Carrion Feeder. That's fine. I'll deal him 6. And then, yeah, I mean, we'll Village Rites this. If they kill, like, the Feeder or the Beetle in response, that's fine. We still have a big army, and we're drawing 2 cards here. And they don't. These come right back. 2 Swamps, not great, but our board is already really good. They're going to Lava Dart us. Well, we could definitely die to Gutter Snipe. They have Lava Dart and Highway Robbery. So that's 5 damage. So we're at 10. They have to hit, like, Land, Lightning Bolt, Fire Blast. Discards Grab the Prize. Play a Mountain. There's a Faithless Looting. Now they need double Fire Blast, I think. And they only have 1 card in hand, so I think we'll be fine. Lava Dart us. We're at 8. Fire Blast us, we go to 2. So then they block the Beetle. And they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're not quite dead, which means I could die to a bolt off the top unless I draw something here. Shadow Alley Denizen, I don't believe that makes the difference. So they definitely could top deck here and still win. Oh, they blocked the Carrion Feeder. Does that do it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, they needed to block the Beetle. This actually gives us lethal. Beetle was 1 bigger, and so if they blocked that, I wouldn't be able to deal them lethal, but as is, I can do all of this, which is currently 4 squirrels, and this, sack the Feeder to itself, and then we deal them 11. Alright, well, if they had blocked correctly and then drawn a Lava Dart or a Lightning Bolt, we could have died there, but luckily for us, they did not. So we're going to bring in Scorpions, Tragic Slips, I think that might be it. Literally any spell. No, because I was killing the Gutter Snipe, right? If I didn't have lethal on them, I would have, and they had to block the Beetle, I would have just eaten their Gutter Snipe. And so then a Faithless Looting or something wouldn't have done it, right? So what are we cutting here? Super tired? Yeah, no worries. Shadow Alley Denizen can be okay in this match. They do have snackers to block still, and usually I'm okay if they're blocking. Like if I can make this so they can't block an Epic here, it can be decent, but that's not. I already have like 4 Shamblagasts to remove an Epic here, so I think those are better. I mean, to me, I feel like Beckoners are just so much slower, so I would generally take those out, because it seems tough to make it work in this match. I could bring in Fiends. Like, I don't hate removal, hand attack in this matchup, but I have to be taking out more cards. We'll do a couple draw spells, and I will do a couple Beckoners. Alright, so we don't have anywhere near as much life gain from the sideboard. And the ones that we do have, the Scorpions, I'm not actually sure how they're going to work in this match. They'd be great against Rally, where combat is relevant. But here, the combat isn't super relevant, so like I have to be the one sacrificing them to gain the life, and it's only 2 life, so I don't really know. This hand is really good, though. Carrion Feeder plus Beetle, Village Rites, and a Shambler's nice, and we have the Rite of Consumption for later. Another Shambler is not bad either. We'll lead on that. They're deciding if they want to bolt it. If they have a Lava Dart, I feel like they definitely would. Maybe with a bolt, they're not as sold on that, which is fair. Go for a Robbery. We also don't have any Graveyard hate, I'm realizing. No Rotten Reunions or anything, which I would usually have brought in here. Another Beetle. So I think I'm playing... I could play Carrion Feeder plus Shambler. That makes it hard, but not impossible for them to kill the Carrion Feeder, because I could make it as big as a 5/5. But if I lose the Feeder, I'm not in a great spot. So I almost want to just play Shambler, Village Rites, and then the next turn, hopefully I hit a land drop, and then I could get out Beetle, Carrion Feeder. And so even if they kill the Feeder, at least I have a bunch of Beetles. I think that might be the better play here. So that's what we're going to go for. They have a Flame Breather. Swing for 2. No land drop is nice for us. We'll Village Rites a Shambler. We do get that Swamp. So now I can have 3 4/4s here. Or I could play the Bloodthrone Vampire, which can get bigger for a Rite of Consumption. I don't think that's where we want to be at. If they try to kill it, then I pretty much have to let it go, because we don't have enough fodder. I'll just pass here. Maybe I should have sacked the Shambler right there just to make it so these don't die to Lava Darts, and then we have Ghoulcaller's Chant to buy back 2 Shamblers. That's going to be really good next turn. But if they leave up a removal and I go to sack this on our turn, then they Lightning... Well, a Lava Dart isn't a big deal because I have the Squirrel, but then they bolt. Maybe it's not great. Searing Blaze. Yeah. So we're going to sack the Shambler. It's probably not a... excuse me, it's probably not a big deal here if as long as they can't kill the Beetles. Like if they let this go and then just like Lava Dart the Feeder, I'll sack it to itself. We have 2 5/5 Beetles, and then I still get 2 Ghoulcaller's Chant the Shambler and a Carrion Feeder back. That'd be pretty good. Looks like they're gonna Lava Dart the Feeder here. Okay, that is gonna end up killing it, but it's not quite gonna do what they need it to here. I'll still sack the Squirrel. Oh no, I guess it is, because they're gonna flash it back and try to kill the Feeder before I get the Squirrel. Oh, never mind. They're going to let me get the Squirrel. I mean, I guess that's fine. That probably is where I'd want to stop, because it was going to die anyway. But I don't think I yielded to... I did not mean to yield to all of those triggers. But it's probably not a big deal anyway. We're at 11. You know, not usually a big fan of Dark Ritual. It actually looks pretty good here, because I can use it for Ghoulcaller's Chant, play Carrion Feeder Shambler, attack with these 2 Beetles, and... Well, they have to block. Or no, they're 19. They don't have to block, and then I can Rite of Consumption. Because if I sacrifice 1, 2, 3, 4, these would be hitting for 7 apiece. That would definitely be lethal. So yeah, Dark Ritual, Ghoulcaller's Chant, Carrion Feeder, Shambler. Play the Feeder, play the Shambler, swing with the team. And they're going to block the Squirrel, which means we should be able to get lethal on them this turn by pumping up the Beetles here and then throwing one with a Rite of Consumption. Hit for 14, right for lethal. Turn 4 win. Pretty decent. All right. Took down Mono Red Madness very cleanly there. All right, round 2. On the play again is nice. 1 tap land. Not looking too good here, because we do have 1 land, but we have some card draw, but the tap land's really brutal. Dark Ritual proving it can be nasty. Very true. It was quite good there. Yeah, this hand's so slow. It's got good value, but I can't ensure a turn 2, or ensure. I can't make it easier to draw a turn 2 land with the Village Rites. That's a hell of a mull. Yeah, I'm definitely throwing it back. But I think this is a keepable, it's a reasonable keep if this Baron Moor wasn't in the deck. So, always good to keep that in mind. This one's not amazing either, but we do have Village Rites, Shambling Gas. We'll keep. I think I'll put back a Vampire, and we just need to protect this this one Vampire a little bit more, since we only have the one. Play a Ghast. We're against Spy. They land grant for a Forest, and then Wildling. Next turn, it's probably Wall of Roots or Battlement. Swing for 1. I mean, we don't have to, like, protect the Vampire, which is kind of nice. And if I get a land here, I can actually play it. But we don't get a land. Which means I could play out another Ghast, and the next turn we could Village Rites it. I don't think there's a reason to play any of our 1-drops now, though, with the Treasure, because they're just going to have a blocker. So I might as well wait and see what happens. Here from the YouTube videos, Black Sack's my favorite Pauper deck. It is my favorite as well. Pretty good. Yeah, so didn't draw a land. I want to get a Vampire down, but if I play that with just the Treasure, then it's not looking like it's going to deal any damage anytime soon. I think we're going to try to win with the Harvest, not even getting in with the Vampire potentially, which I think means I just need to hit land drops. So I'm going to go for a Village Rites on this Ghast. Still no land. We get a Beetle, but that's not even going to be getting in, really. I think, again, we just pass. Yeah, not the best draws here. Wall of Roots. You know it's bad when 4 lands spy have more lands on curve than you. That is true. I mean, 4 lands in their deck, they still have, like, 25 to 30 ways to find them, so. But you're right. Play Gatecreeper Vine. I wanted to force in a copy of Gurmag Angler, but my Pauper group called me an idiot. I actually played a Gurmag Angler in my list for a couple weeks when I was first building the deck, and I did not hate it at all. So I think that's not a terrible card to put in. I think if you are going to put it in, you need to make sure that you're not relying too much on the graveyard in other ways. Like, I wouldn't play it with a Ghoulcaller's Chant or something, maybe even cut down on Unearths, but I think that a 1 of Gurmag is totally reasonable. Alright, we do get our Swamp finally. They have all the mana in the world. I mean, we're definitely dead to Spy next turn. What can we do in the meantime? I can play a Vampire and then Beetle. And the next turn I could, like, double Sage. We can hit for a bit. If I'm trying to... No Spy yet, though. I mean, as far as we know. They could have one in hand and they have a Winding Way. So, like, we could definitely be dead to it. But I'd probably just play Vampire and then... Let's see, if I play Sage... We don't have the mana for this Harvest. Like, if we correct this Treasure and stuff, it's a bit of a pain. I mean, we're definitely playing Vampire. If we don't die to Spy, I think we should get down the Beetle, too. If I had a clear avenue to, like, next turn just go for a Harvest win, I would do that. But we need a lot more fodder. We need we need another land or 2. So, if we can survive, the Beetle will be good here. They go for a Wildling, getting their last land. There's a Winding Way, and there's a Spy. So, unless they're expecting the main deck Fairy Macabre, I think we're going to die. So, as I was mentioning, no graveyard hate at all in the list. So we'll see how this plays out. We do have 2 Tragic Slips, which are good here. And we do have Mesmeric Fiend and or Ashen Skin Zubera. I mean, Mesmeric Fiend I don't generally love in this matchup just because maybe you hit a Spy or a card draw spell, but often they don't always have that in hand until they use it. Ashen Skin Zubera seems decent, but they also... I don't know. Their hand size is very fluctuates a lot. Like, you could take 4 cards and it'd be really good, or they could have 1 card in their hand and it's like okay. Solid in this matchup. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst. I generally prefer to just attack the creatures, but we're a deck list that does not have anywhere near as many removal spells, so that's clearly not our game plan here. Shadow Valley Denizen seems like it'd be decent here. Shambling Ghast, Stamina. Zubera could lift a draw spell in hand. Yeah, that is also true. I think the times where it's just going to hit like a random thing is more often going to happen. Obviously, if you could take 4 cards, it can be pretty decent. I'm not sure we can side in all 8 of these, though. I think we just want to be faster, so I'm going to cut a couple card draw spells and the Ghoulcaller's Chance. And then I think... I mean, I kind of want to try the Zuberas, but... Twitch title is wrong. I updated it a little bit ago, so if you refresh, maybe. I mean, I've tried Fiends before, and I'm not the biggest fan. It can be okay. I'm going to try the Zuberas just because it's different and interesting here. We'll cut a Beckoner. Beckoner's too slow. Yeah, in general, I think that's probably true. I'm trying not to just default to cutting the Beckoners every single match, because that's generally how I would feel about them. But I'm trying to see if they're decent here. with an extra land, this hand's really good. We're on the play. We only are on 16 lands, so I can't really count on that. Can't really afford to stumble, so I think we got to mulligan that. This one's decent. We can Zubera twice pretty early. I think we're just getting rid of this Denizen, and I think we're going for like a turn 3. No, I need another sack outlet. I can only Zubera once because I need a sack outlet to sack it again. I was forgetting about that. So I guess I need a vampire. There we go. So it's like turn 4 double Zubera, I guess, which is not as good. Although if I get a land here, I could do it this turn. I could hit him for 4 cards. Ask and you shall receive. Yeah, sometimes. Oh, well, this is, I guess, the second time I've been hit by this Fume Spitter. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Pretty good against Vampire. Not that great against Beetle or Feeder, but very good against the Vampire. They play a Caretaker, and we even get the Swamp, so I could have taken their last 4 cards. Well, I'm going to assume they don't have another Fume Spitter, and I'm just going to play out Beetle and Zubera. I would never decide this in, honestly. I've been hit by it one other time before, and I was absolutely astounded. I'm surprised that it is a sideboard card at all, because I don't know where else it's even that good, but I guess maybe Fairies. But yeah, it is interesting. They play a Wall of Roots, Elves, and KCS decks. Oh yeah, that's fair. Winding Way. They get Wildling and a Vine, but they've been to Lead the Stampedes. That's not bad. Thanks, I'll see you later, Netakissa. They cast Roost-Seek, tapping out here. Turn 3, so they can play their land, but they can't play anything else. They have 4 cards. If I can get another Village Rites or just a Carrion Feeder, then I could take their hand with the Zubera. We get a Swamp. Well, I could just try to go for it. I could Stamina the Zubera and Village Rites it. And if I find another Village Rites, for instance, Speed, then I could do it. Or if I just find a Bloodthorn Vampire or a Carrion Feeder, I could still take 3 cards total. I don't think we have anything else going for us, so I think we're gonna go for it. So I'll Stamina this. Didn't you side out most of your draw spells? I sided out 2. 2 of 6. So we still have 3. I'm not saying it's great odds, but we might as well play this Swamp first. Village Rites. We need to stack these specifically, so when it dies, target opponent, we want that to go on the stack first. So it's going to come back to the battlefield. Oh, I'm not going to draw until after this goes off anyway, so never mind. I forgot how that would work. I don't use the Zuberas very often, but they discard 1, and then if we get another sack outlet, we can make them discard 2 more. And we do. That's actually not bad. I mean, if they have a Spy, well, we can make it so they could only keep a Spy or a way to find another land. It's not terrible. And we have decent pressure. We'll definitely want another fodder creature next turn, but not the worst. Discard a Gatecreeper Vine and a Lead the Stampede. I mean, that's scary, because that's got to be one of their better cards to keep, so that means that they definitely have something else really good to keep. There's a Battlement. I feel like they would not have kept a Battlement over a Lead, but I could be wrong, so yeah, just a Swamp. We're only running 16 lands. We're still getting flooded. Seems like Spy. Yeah, probably is Spy. If we could have gotten another Zubera there, we could grow our team and take their last card again, which would be nice. No Fear. They're going to block with the Caretaker. Never mind. Maybe a bit of Fear. They block with the Wall of Roots. Okay. Yep, they got it. I'm going to keep playing lands because we do have Beckoners and other things that are more expensive in this version. Not really a reason to sandbag them. There's a Gatecreeper Vine, so if their last card is Spy, this will pull out their last land. And we will die. Yep, there it is. If we could have had a Rotten Reunion there. I mean, our matchup against Spy is not terrible in general. If we had a better start, we can get big enough so that we can attack their creatures directly because they have to chump block. But I'm not sure I'm loving not having any Graveyard Hate in the sideboard. Well, Fiend instead of Zubera here taking the Spy. That is true. They would have had to Lead the Stampede, so I think the chances that they hit another Spy or something else is pretty high. So, yeah, in that exact instance, Fiend probably would have been better. But I think only marginally, because I still think that the Lead the Stampede could probably find another one pretty easily. But Scam could still get 2 cards. Yeah, I guess that's true. If I Stamina'd it, yeah, one of the cards would be left under the Fiend, because I wouldn't have had the ability to sacrifice it in response to the second one. But you're right, I could have exiled the Spy and then grabbed the the lead the Stampede with the other one. So yeah, you're probably right. Spitter for Mesmerics. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, like I said, both times I've gone up against it, it's immediately hit a vampire. Because it's good for that. I mean, the thing is, I don't usually play a Mesmeric Fiend. No, I mean, I think it's just decent in general. Like, it can also hit a Shambler in response to a Stamina. Like, it's like their gut shot, right? My Fiends don't usually just sit on the field, so I don't think that's why they're bringing them in. Because usually I'm sacrificing them right away. But it would be just another use of it being decent. Yeah, this is another hand that I kind of think is okay, but it's kind of ruined by this Baron more. But we are on the draw this time. I'm going to give it a try. It's definitely not great. I think that if you're going to include Baron War in your list, you have to be willing to keep hands where you actually have to play it as a land sometimes. We do not want to play Baron War anymore. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that my main lists don't run... my main list doesn't run any tap lands. I feel like it's always detrimental. But also against fairies, pretty much the worst deck to be against on a one-lander. But maybe we'll get bailed out. Look, there we go. Still not great because I can spell stutter any one drop. For that reason, I could just play Vampire. I would love to get a Shambling Ghast down. We're on the draw, so yeah. If we had an untapped land playing a Shambling Ghast, I mean, I wouldn't have a way to sacrifice in response to a spell stutter, but like having it on the field is really good against fairies. So it's either Vampire or I could bait with something, then resolve something else, but there's nothing else that's like amazing to resolve. Like, if I bait with a Feeder, then resolve a Shambling Ghast or vice versa, none of that's great. I'm just going to go for the Vampire. If they just want to counterspell, that's totally fine. Yeah, there's the spell stutter. Don't mind them just flashing it out. I'm sure there will be a Ninja, but... Snap. I almost want to just sack the Vampire to itself. That means they only have 1 mana. And I can probably resolve Feeder Beetle. And if I get a land, maybe like a Shambling Ghast. Whereas if I let it resolve... They could have a counterspell or a spell stutter. They could also have a ninja, like a bigger ninja or something. I don't love Vampire in this matchup anyway. I'm just going to sack it to itself. We'll turn their snap into a cast down. I also just think the power of them expecting to be able to untap 2 lands and then not can be pretty strong. Like, they would have spell stutter up as well as getting the hacker in here, which would be a real pain for me to resolve anything. Whereas now I can play Shambling Ghast and Feeder. Okay, plus we have a Beetle because we get the swamp. Yeah, that's what we're doing. This is for a spell stutter. I could obviously pick off something here. I think we're just passing. So there's a possibility next turn I can resolve. If all they have is a spell stutter, as far as fairies, I could Nested Shambler and then Perigee Beckoner. So I think I'm just going to take this damage. I know they get some value, but I get a lot of value next turn. And this Shambling Ghast is really important to pick off a spell stutter. They're going to pass. Infestation Sage. Yeah, I mean, we're just going for Shambler. Technically infinite. If we can get a 4th land, yes. But if we can't get a 4th land, it doesn't matter. And I think I'd rather just go for the pumping up the Shambler here, because if this resolves... Oh, with the Ghast? Yeah, I suppose you're true. You're right about that. I think this is probably just safer anyway. Going all in on the combo, and then they have a snap, they have a counterspell. Yes. Yeah, they have a counterspell there. Sack for treasure. Yeah, you're right. I did have the mana for it. I still don't think it was the right play. Because here they have a counterspell. So the first Beckoner would have pumped... I would have had to sack the Ghast. So it would have pumped a Beetle for basically no value. Then they counterspell the second one. And then I've used both my Beckoners and my Ghast. And I'm left with like nothing. So yes, I could have gone for it. I don't think it was the correct play. We can get in for 3 here. And then I can just go for another Beckoner with the Shambler next turn. And if they don't have a counterspell for that, like I think that just wins us the game either way. That means I need to not block here. I still think that's fine. They're looting, but they're not just drawing, so it's not, they're filtering a little bit, which is decent. Not the end of the world for us. They discard a spell stutter. I feel like they probably have another, or they're just realizing it's not very useful with the Ghast. We get a Village Rites. Let's play let's play an Infestation Sage. See if they want to do anything to that. And then we'll go for another Beckoner here, which will probably eat another counterspell. Force Spike could be unfortunate. Well, I should have sacrificed this in response. I can't do that now. Yeah, it's probably unfortunate. If I had sacked the Ghast, then I would have had the treasure to pay for it. Then they maybe counterspell it, but that's still a fine trade. I've gotten most of my stuff to resolve, so I wouldn't have hated that. Just clicked through that too quickly. Still want to save this for a spell stutter. Let's just attack for 4 here. I have a blocker for this, or for a flyer now. Yeah, let's just pass. They are still swinging. I'll block the hacker. They're going to ninja the Strix. I could obviously trade here. If I don't care about it, I could just sacrifice to pump these guys up. So they'd be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, we'll just trade. Not confident. I could definitely have lethal next turn, especially because they can play a blocker here. I guess if they play a 1 toughness blocker, I can ghast it away. But they still have Spell Stutter up, which is fine. Because I have Village Rights. Let's sack the Insect. Flyer's really good in this matchup, but I have a Shambling. They don't have any Flyers right now, and I can Shambling Ghast. Pick something off. They have Dispel. Okay. Wanted to save this for another Stamina or something, but I think now we just sacrifice. Well, if they have a Brine Barrow, we don't have any way to have lethal, but if they don't, then I could have lethal if I get a Stamina. If I make a treasure off this, I could also find a Beckoner. Yeah, let's use the Ghast now. Make a treasure. If they have another Dispel, you know, that's fine, I suppose. Vampire. Alright. Well, we'll play that and swing for 4. Pass the turn. They have a Strix. Taps the Vampire. We will be blocking the Ninja. Never mind. That's fine. I mean, they get a card. We have some good attackers, but, you know, it's going to be close for sure. Depends on if we draw anything good here. They just pass. Another Shambler. If they do have a Spell Stutter, I don't have a way to stop that this time. Not really a reason to hold it, I don't think, though. Okay, it does resolve. So I want to have some blockers. I don't have any flying blockers. Can't do anything about that. 2 blockers. Currently they have 4. They would have to, like, double Ninja and double tap to be able to get through for lethal. Yeah, we'll attack with these 3. They block Carrion Feeder and Vampire. No, never mind. Yeah, that would leave him dead to the Beetle, assuming I was willing to go all in on it and just pray for no snap, which I probably would, but they decide to block the Beetle instead, and they block the Vampire. So if I sack a Shambler, then I only have 1 blocker for this. I'm kind of fine just trading the Vampire here. Like, in general, Vampire is more valuable than another 1/1, but the double blockers I think is pretty decent here. So we'll pass priority to them. Will this be on YouTube later? Yes, it will. Probably in about a week or so. We'll pass the turn. They do have Spell Stutter, despite us being tapped out, or not tapped out, no cards in hand. They did not use it on the Shambler, which means that they had some other trick they might have wanted to use, like a snap or something. Block here, they have a Moonstruck Hacker. Yeah, like I said, this one's going to be close. Spell Stutter counters most anything we could get. I mean, a Beckoner at this point is probably one of our better draws. Fairy Miscreant of 1 mind. Block here. Stamina's nice, but they have a Spell Stutter up, so I can't use it unless they tap for something first, which means I attack. I'm attacking with the Carrion Feeder. Do I attack with the Beetle? I mean, if they have another Ninja, I die to... Well, this I already can't block, so, like, I would die to one of these getting through. So if I attack with these 2, I only have 2 blockers, so any removal spell plus a Ninja kills us. Feels like we really need the damage from the Beetle, though, because we're going to be dead in a couple turns anyway to just their Flyers. Yeah, I'm just going to attack with a Feeder. Then they block. I have to sack one of these anyway. Yeah, that's another fair point. All right. I think you took too much from this 2/1. I mean, this is a different Ninja than the one before, if that's what you're talking about, but it's possible. So if they flash in a Spell Stutter at the end step, I'll probably go for the Stamina then, just because it'll be kind of our only window. But if I do that, then I have to sack this Squirrel here to keep the Feeder alive, which means then I'll only have 1 blocker. Don't have I don't know. We're sacking a Squirrel here, and we'll see if I want to use the Stamina. Probably not, actually, because I think I need the 2 blockers. And if they do flash out the Spell Stutter, then maybe I can resolve the Stamina on their turn. So 3 mana of 1 mind. Okay. Play an Island, play a Miscreant. More like of 3 minds. True. Land is not great. So I attack with a Feeder. They probably block with a Hacker, and then I just have to let it go. That's not great. Attack with the Beetle, they just chump. Then they only have 1 blocker. Can't afford to attack with these 2. I don't think I can afford to attack with this one either. So I think we just pass. Definitely going to be a tough one for us to pull through on. But if this Swamp was like a real card, I think we would have a decent shot. Another Miscreant's pretty good. Sack Shambler in their end step. Yeah. But, I mean, the Stamina, we know they have a Spell Stutter, so Stamina's probably not going to resolve, which means we could sack it, but, like, we just get a couple guys. We don't get a ton, right? They attack with the Miscreant. That's fine. We're taking 1. Perigee and Baron Moore, the new cards you're trying out, there are a couple of them. This is a list by a player called Airplay, and they have been running this list, gotten 5 trophies with it in the last month, and they've been running a lot of different cards. Those are a couple of them. Essence Harvest is another. Dark Ritual we're playing a couple of. Ghoulcaller's Chant. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think if these draws were better, we'd be okay. Now they have a Spell Stutter which counters this. These can't be lethal. Spell Stutter Flash at the end step means we lose in the air. To Grow Feeder and have the Squirrel untapped. Yeah, I don't think that would have just made a better difference. I don't think that would have made a difference than having the potential to maybe Stamina this at some point. I think would have been better. But they smartly never Spell Stuttered anything. I guess if I attack with the Feeder here, which can't block anyway, maybe they block with a Miscreant and then I don't die to Flyers, but that seems unlikely. Dark Rit I love in theory, not in practice. Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of it. I'm not a fan of most of the cards in this list, to be honest, that are different. That's why it's, a different list, but I figured I'd try them out because clearly they've been doing well with them. So yeah, I could go for a Stamina. That doesn't do anything. They block here. I just have to let it go. And then we're just going to die to the Spell Stutter. So, alright, we're going to go to the next one. They got us. Tragic Slip's good here. Are you into art prints and playmats? There's a Kickstarter for Mark Poole art right now. Just picked up 2 playmats to print, but I might spring for a second. I'm always a fan of prints and playmats. It does sound pretty sweet. We have Tragic Slip, Drown in Sorrow. I don't hate Mesmeric Fiend, although this might actually be one where Zubair is decent, just because they usually have a decent amount of cards, so if they ever tap out, maybe I can, try to hit them for a bunch. Seems decent. I don't generally like Rite of Consumption in this matchup because you have to sack a creature and then they can just have a counterspell. But the Essence Harvest could actually be okay. Although their snaps makes it harder to get one big creature, but Ghoulcaller's Chance decent. Shadow Alley Denizen I don't think is necessary. If they're blocking, we're already usually in a good spot. Shambling Ghasts are great in this match. Not cutting any of those. Essence Harvest still might be worth cutting just because it's expensive, and if they can snap our creature in response, it's not very good. But they're also probably going to have Bind the Monsters and stuff that just tap a creature down, and then this could be decent to throw later. I think I like all these better, so what else are we cutting is the question. Could go down some more card draw. I don't really want to cut any fodder. Probably want to keep the Staminas and the Beckoners if we're doing Zubeiras. Sure, we'll cut these. Let's see how this goes. Oh, it's still 61. I guess on the play, I won't do the Drown in Sorrow here. It's decent in general. I usually bring it in regardless, but with a different list, it's tougher to know exactly what to do. And so there we go. Double Ghoulcaller's Chant, Tragic Slip. One land is not great. Double Ghoulcallers is pretty interesting with a bunch of zombies. We also have Tragic Slip and Shambling Ghast, but if we had another land, I think this would be a very good hand against them. I think it's just a little too awkward with one land. If we don't get another land, we're just toast. Yeah, this one's not amazing either, but we do have the Shambling Ghast, which, with the Vampire, assuming it doesn't get Force Spiked, can prevent a Spell Stutter from going off, and that could be good. There's also a Tragic Slip. Play a Vampire. And we're not going to attack because they could have a Brine Barrow. We haven't seen Brine Barrow, but I would assume they're playing them. Or Humbling Elder. There we go. Same type of thing. They're going to attack. If they do a Moon Circuit Hacker, I could just pick it off. If they do a Ninja of the Deep Hours, I can't. If I want to block, though, I have to sack the Shambling Ghast, and then I can pick off the Elder. I can make this a 3/3 and get a treasure, and they just snap this. I think we'll take it. Alright, 1 damage. Not too worried about that. Nested Shambler's good. With Stamina, I think we'll play that. They're going for the Spell Stutter, which I'll pick off with the Shambling Ghast. I think I'm just short of lethal here because we're at 3. I could play another Ghast, sacrifice it for a treasure, so that's 5. And then I can Stamina this, which is 6 triggers, which is plus 12, so that's 17. So I could put him to 3, but I've used up all of my resources to do it, so I don't think that's very good. So I think we'll just go for the go wide play. Still gonna Stamina this, obviously, and make a bunch of 1/1s. Hit for 5. Honestly, against Fairies Ninja on 2 is a relief because Stutter's so much scarier. In general, I agree with you. I kind of had the Stutter covered with the Shambling Ghast. But yes, I definitely think you're right, the most part. I guess we'll let this resolve. We kind of want that Vampire around. Them using it now is pretty okay. And they're probably leaving this back because otherwise they take a bunch of damage, and then they're holding up Counterspell, actual Counterspell. Ghoulcaller's Chant. I'll play the Vampire. They clearly have a Counterspell for it, but I can just Ghoulcaller's Chant it back if I want. And playing anything else doesn't feel that good. I could attack and they block here, get in for 3. Don't think that's quite good enough. I might as well save that at least for like a Morbid trigger. If they attack with the Elder at this point, I get to just triple block with Squirrels. Probably trade one for the Elder. I guess if they had a Mutagenic, that would be bad. Maybe I'd want a quad block. But they just play a Fairy Miscreant. Let's see. Probably just play a Shambling Ghast. If they spell stutter it, I don't really care. I get to Ghoulcaller's Chant back. I wish I had a Carrion Feeder, because I have to choose between a Vampire and another Shambling Ghast. The Shambling Ghast doesn't do much without a Vampire, though. So I probably get back the Vampire, but then I can't actually cast it this turn, which means they could hold up Counterspell for next turn. So I could just go for the Chant on the Vampire, but then they can actually counter it with a Spell Stutter. Yeah, let's just do a Shambling Ghast, see what they do. They do nothing. I think I'll just buy back this Vampire. We did see last match how good the Ghoulcaller's Chant buying back 2 zombies could really be. But right here, we're seeing how much worse it is sometimes compared to an Unearth. Because if I could have just brought back the Vampire right away, that would have been a lot better. But, you know, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. Instant speed, 0 mana removal, you kind of paid for it earlier. Yeah, 100%. Miscreant coming in. Do I want to just Tragic Slip this? Because they probably have a Ninja. Then they Spell Stutter it or counter it, and then the Vampire probably resolves. I think that's fine. Dispel, can't do much about that. They got the Hacker and an Island, but they could have a Counterspell, but they couldn't have a Spell Stutter anymore. Oh, Sunken City. Blue creatures get +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you sack it unless you pay blue. I don't care too much about that. I mean, it does make Shambling Ghast picking off a guy much more difficult, but it also locks down 2 of their mana every single turn. We have to play a Vampire. I could attack with a team. We get in for 4. Then we have a Ninja to deal with. I think we just pass. I mean, Sunken City is cool, and I've seen it be used very effectively. Welcome to the dark. Yeah, absolutely. But not too worried about it here, I don't think. Also, them just, like, locking up 2 of their mana every single turn, so that now I only have to be worried about 1 counterspell or anything is pretty great. Sunken City in the year of our Lord 2026. Crazy. It is pretty crazy. I gotta agree with you there. Swing with the Hacker. I mean, I guess I got a double block, or I could just trade the Ghast for it. I think I just want to trade the Ghast. So Hacker down. Oh, and they have a Fairy Miscreant. We have a Sage. Well, I'll swing with the Vampire. We get to eat at least a guy, probably. Block here. I'll sack the Sage. Boom. Pass to them. Like, they might not, they only have 2 cards, so they might not have a ton to do with their mana anyway, but it's also just preventing them from, like, using Harrier Strix, or I guess if they play an island and don't do anything else, it doesn't prevent them from doing that, but it's not doing as much as they might want. I'm just going to play a Shambler. If they Spell Stutter it, I at least know they have no other tricks, and if they don't, that's fine too. Also with the Vampire, if they don't block it, I know they'll have a Snap, and I will certainly be not going all in, but they block with the Strix. I think the Strix is more valuable. They don't even want to loot with it. Okay. But I guess they want the Fairy, or I guess the potential to draw like Fairy Miscreant into Miscreant into Miscreant is one of the better ways they could get out of this. So maybe that's why. They just need to high roll. There's an Island. Seems like a tough spot. There's a Beckoner. Well, we're going to cast it. Nice. Onto a Shambler. We're just swinging with the team. They block the Vampire. We'll sacrifice the Shambler. We get to hit for 4. And we'll play our Swamp, because if I draw another, I can play the Beckoner from exile. But unless they have an anti-Sunken City that shrinks all of our team, I think we're going to be good here. Alright. So we get that game, and we are going to game 3. I think we'll bring in the Drown in Sorrow. I think I might do it for a Beckoner. Beckoners are decent because they can't get Spell Stuttered really at all, even if you play it for 2 mana. But we already have 3 of them. We have Staminas, which are instant speed. I think we'll... Especially on the draw, I think a Drown in Sorrow can be really nice as a way to regain some of the tempo they might be able to acquire in the early game. Or late game. Sometimes a top deck to Drown in Sorrow on turn 8 could be really good too. This is a decent hand. We're going to keep. We get the turn 1 Shambling Ghast, assuming it doesn't get Force Spiked, and then we get to hold that up with Village Rites and instant speed for Spell Stutters. I keep talking about Shambling Ghast because it is just, yeah, well... Can't do anything about that. It is just really good in this matchup. But now, that makes things tougher. Although if they want to tap even just a single mana, then I don't have to worry about a Spell Stutter. Did they mulligan? Because they only have 3... Yep, mulligan to 6, because they only have 3 cards left. I could play a Zubera. I don't think that's that good. I think I'd rather Shambler and Beetle, and then next turn I can Stamina and Village Rites. And I did intentionally do it in this order so that if they had another Force Spike, they'd hit the Beetle. Because I'd rather have Shambler with Stamina and Village Rites than just a Beetle by itself. So, if they have a Ninja here, yep, it's a big one, but that's not bad. Good luck for the rest of the league. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Probably replay their Miscreant. No, they hold up something. Well, if they have a Dispel, it's kind of unfortunate because they can counter the Stamina. Vampire's good. They could obviously have another Force Spike. They could just have a Brine Bear Intruder. If we do attack with both, go for a Stamina Village Rites. We have no blockers for the Ninja, which I don't really like. I wanted to make something happen this turn, but I think I just go for the Vampire. We saw they didn't have a Force Spike last turn, at least they didn't want to use it, so I expect there's not one here, even though they did draw 2 new cards. And then having this, if I draw another land, I could potentially Zubera Stamina next turn, or do something else. This also just gives us blockers, although I'm not sure I want to sack anything. Yeah, I don't know. Land would be pretty good next turn. I mean, I probably can't afford to let them draw a card here, but it's really tough to know what to sacrifice. I guess if I'm planning to use the Stamina on the Zubera, which, you know, is only if I can actually get that off at some point. But if I am planning to do that, then maybe I don't need the Shambler, and I can sacrifice it to the Vampire. They play their Miscreant. Okay, if they just pass, that's fine. We do get the Swamp. I could play Zubera and they could counter it. It's not the end of the world if they do. But then if they have another Ninja with the Spell Stutter, that's pretty unfortunate. Next turn, I guess then I get to resolve Stamina on Shambler, and that's pretty good. I think we go for this regardless. They have been leaving up 1 mana though, so I'm also worried about a Dispel on the Stamina. So maybe I bait it with a Dispel on like a Village Rites on a Shambler. Next turn, we're just going to pass again. Play an island, no attacks. So they could have Dispel and a Spell Stutter here, so if I go for a Village Rites, they could just Spell Stutter it. They have enough mana to use a bunch. I think we just passed our turn. Oh, that's pretty good. That is really good. That forces them to do something. Otherwise, I can just take their whole hand without even having to use a Stamina or anything. Snap on the Vampire. Okay. Well, I could, like, Stamina this, or I could Village Rites it. But I do want to keep the Vampire around. Yeah, that's fine. There's no world, I don't think, where they block this. I mean, I guess they only have 2 cards, so maybe if they block and they don't care too much about losing 2 cards. But, like, if they block, I could, like, sack the other one. I guess this wasn't super well thought out. I don't mind taking their whole hand, because then we have more stuff going on. I could Stamina this. They trade, takes a card from their hand. If they counter this, then I still get to take their last card. Yeah. Not super well thought out, but I don't think it's terrible either way. Like, if they have the Dispel. Okay. But then I still get to take the last card from their hands. If they don't have, like, an instant speed thing. It was a counter spell. That's not bad. So, yeah, if these Zuberas go from, like, oh, take 4 cards all at once to just, like, oh, I can strip the first card they have in their hand a couple times, like, that's not bad at all. And they're attacking with the Ninja. So I could Zubera block, take their last card, but they probably has Flash if they're willing to do this. I think I'm just going to double block. If they just want to kill the Shambler, that's fine. I still get to kill the Ninja. If they have a Brine Bear, I don't really care. They kill the Zubera. It's just an island, but they should have at least played that, right? Okay. Well, now we get to attack. It was a lot. It was drawn out, but we get to just swing. I'm just going to Village Rites this now while they have no cards. And unless they draw really, really well, I think we might be okay here. I guess we'll just leave this up. Beckoner's decent. Of course, I just sacked the Shambler, but I still think that was the right call by a mile. They're going to swing. So they got a Ninja, I assume. Yes. I'm just going to Village Rites this right before they draw so that they can't draw Counterspell. Counter on this. 2 Swamps. I mean, I guess I can hardcast a Beckoner. They have a Miscreant and 1 Unknown. Bind the Monster. Yep, they'll take 3. And they got a Miscreant. That's not bad, actually. I can just play Perigee Beckoner, Warped on the Beetle, and it'll come right back. Swing with the Vampire. They're going to block. I'll sacrifice the Beetle. Comes back to the field. And then pass to them. I can even warp the Beckoner, or not warp the Beckoner, just hardcast it next turn. They're going to swing. No reason for me to give them a card here. Sack the Sage. By sacking the Sage, I do lose the best creature to use the Beckoner on, but I think that's fine. Stamina's pretty cool. Let's play a Beckoner, see if they drew a counterspell, which they did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think we have lethal here, but we will... That doesn't make sense. Yeah, we'll attack like this. Hit for 4 and pass the turn. And they have a Snap for the Vampire, which means they'll draw another card. That's fine. I could have stamina'd it and like sacrificed it, but enters tap, so it doesn't make a difference. They're just cycling their card too, so it's not a big deal. They get a hacker, which blocks. We get a shambler. I think that's lethal. So they block the vampire and I have 2. This is 6 triggers, so that's 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that is lethal. Certainly if they don't block, but they go back and forth. They end up blocking the right one. We'll sack the shambler here. They are tapped out. No card. Not tapped out. They have no cards. Let's just do our math again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. Yes. So we have lethal here. Since we're sacrificing our whole board, always make sure you do the math. I didn't need to sack that insect, but that's okay. Make this vampire enormous right before I sacrifice it to itself. And hit for lethal with the beetle. Boom. All right, we won the match. Well, we got there. We're 2-1. We go to the next one. This always feels like doing Ravager math. Yeah, it's very similar. Sack the whole board, throw the counters on your Vault Scourge or whatever. Yeah, definitely the a very similar deck in another format. I mean, I've done the math for this deck a million times now, and I've gotten very used to it, but like, it's always very complicated. And again, when you're sacrificing your entire board, you want to make sure you're doing it right. So like, I always double or triple check, and then I'm like, I hope I haven't made a mistake, because otherwise I'm going to sacrifice everything and fall 1 damage short, and then embarrassingly lose. So, which is not my favorite thing. All right, round 4 here. 4 lands is too many. If this was a Shambler Stamina Feeder, I would probably keep it, but as is, it's just too low impact. Okay. I wrote a huge portion in my guide about how unlikely it is to get the Perigee Beckoner combo, and why you shouldn't play Beckoners for the combo. However, we not only have the combo, we have a turn 3 because of this Dark Ritual. So, I think we have to keep, I think we get rid of this Village Rites, and we hope for the best. If they have a blocker, or a removal spell, or anything at all, we're going to lose. But if they're like Jund and just play like tap land into like Wildfire, it could be really good. Now if they're Jund and they cast down our Vampire right away, it's going to be bad. However, we're going to hope that's not the case, because we're 1 turn away from glory. Oh, they're Mardu, and they're going to Tithing Blade us? Black Mage's Rod? No, that's a blocker. If I get a Shambling Guest, I can still do it. Village Rites, that's not it. Well, we still get to have 2 Beckoners on the field and a Vampire, so I'm pretty sure we still go for it. Dark Ritual, warp this onto this guy, warp this onto this guy, and then we swing. And then they probably block. Aw, darn. What a bummer. So let's see, this is the one, right? It's coming back. Sacrifice here. Opponent saying it's the first time they've seen this in action. It goes on to here, and I mean, there's no reason to pump it anymore. This was cast with Warp, but it's going to come back, so I'm going to Village Rites this. And then it comes back, and then we pass. Just making sure I did this right. Yeah, these guys are both real now. All right. Still very good spot, because now we just have 2 4/5s and a Vampire, but definitely a little sad to miss out on the turn 3 infinite combo lethal. You go for a Synth, hitting a Refurb, Glinthawk, pick up the Synth, get a Galvanic Blast. They're just going to take out the Vampire, I assume. They only have 2 artifacts, so I could keep it alive, but I have another Vampire, and I think the Beckoners are just better, so we'll just let that go off. Stamina. You know, funnily enough, Stamina actually lets us retry with the combo if these are both still alive. So next turn, so I get to play both of these, and then next turn I can infinite it again. Assuming they don't kill both of these. Replay the Synth. They hit a Rustvale Bridge. Play a Landscape for a Lembas. Scry to the bottom. And they're going to pass. We got a Ghast. Well, I can swing and... Actually, I should have done this before blocks, probably. But it's fine. I'll Stamina this guy. And then we can once again go for the combo. Sacrifice this. Put it here. And then sacrifice this. I should do this with the Vampire because it's quicker. If they don't have any interaction, it doesn't matter. Boom. And now we get to infinite them out. Oh, well, I pumped the wrong one. Oops. I think I still just have lethal. Look, we did the infinite. There's too many clicks for me. I'm not a combo player. We got there. That's all that matters. All right. This is Mardu Synth. So Synth is usually one that I would bring in Mesmeric Fiends against. Now that we have the Zuberas, the question is it better to take one or two specific cards or just hit them for a bunch? I mean, taking specifically a Synth is really good, but I kind of think they're a deck that's just going to have a lot of cards, so I kind of want to try the Zuberas here again. And Dryad Star is good because they're going to have Glint Hawks, Refurbs, and probably some Thraben and Novice Inspectors, or Black Mage's Rod guys. So I think Dryad Star is decent. Shadow Alley Denizen, they still have Refurbs. I don't think that's necessary. And Corrupted Convictions. I mean, the Beckoners seem decent. Obviously, if we get them together and stuff like that, it's fine. But also, they're big enough to survive a Galvanic Blast. So if we go late, it could be decent. I think Vampires are usually pretty rough in this matchup, so I'm going to cut one of those. Just because they Galvanic Blast, I have to sack 2 guys, and then they Galvanic again, I have to sack 2 guys to keep it alive, and it's tough. Similar to a Bolt matchup, where I also have started cutting like a Vampire or 2. Alright, this hand is okay. And we have Beetle into Vampire, into Zubera, into Parachi Beckoner on the Zubera. I don't think it's a mulligan. We'd love to get a 1-drop that's more expendable than the Beetle. And then I can do that guy, then Zubera, and then Vampire Beetle on turn 3. That'd be better. Let's start with the Landscape. Village Rites. We'll just do the Beetle. I don't have anything else to play. It might be worth saving, especially because they could have like a Tithing Blade or something that I'd be letting them get down earlier, but I guess it looks like it's fine here. Dark Ritual. Okay. What can I do with that? I can play Zubera and Warp, but I can't do it don't also have a sack outlet. I could do it and then just hold up a Village Rites, or I could do it and then play Vampire Zubera, which is, it's not the craziest thing ever, but it allows me to have the Zubera if they get a Tithing Blade, or just like a Bolt. Yeah, I'll just go for it. I could wait to do this until next turn, but this still lets me next turn go for Beckoner plus Village Rites. And yeah. So, look, there's an example of Dark Ritual being okay, but not being the most crazy thing ever. So, start with the Synth. I like if they just want to spin the wheels a little bit here. They do get a Swamp, which could be good if they have a Cast Down. Like, losing Vampire here would make it so I can't do much next turn. I would love for them to just, like, tap out for a Skyfisher or something, though. I mean, Skyfisher would, the best thing for them to tap out for would be, like, a Lembas, or actually something that doesn't draw cards, so they just have 4. But, like, if they tap out for any 2-drop that doesn't affect our board, I'm pretty happy with it. If they leave that up, I'm going to assume they have a Cast Down, and that doing Beckoner is probably a waste. I mean, if I warp Beckoner on the Zubera, they try to kill the Vampire in response. That's the problem. They don't go for the Zubera. Yeah, let's just swing here for 3. I think I'll just pass the turn. They have a Fanatical Offering. If that's the only thing they were holding up, then they get us a little bit, but it's really tough to go all in on a Vampire. That's unfortunate. Really tough to go all in on a Vampire when they could have a Cast Down. Maybe I should have just gone for it anyway with a Beckoner. Tough to know. They have a Refurb. I'll discard a Swamp. They have 5 artifacts, so they could definitely wipe our board here. If they don't have Death Touch and they have to use a lot of those artifacts, like, it could be okay. We also get a Village Rites here, which is decent, but giving us a turn is interesting. I could get a Stamina or a Rites of Consumption. I don't think that's going to do it. If I warp this in, target a Zubera, they start sacking stuff. But if they let it hit the field, it's one more creature to keep the Vampire alive. I don't have much else to do, so I think we're just going to go for it. I think their smartest play is to crack some artifacts right now while it's on the stack, but obviously I'd be happy if they let it resolve at least, which they do. Got to target the Zubera, no question there. They have the Toxin Analysis. I don't have any Snuff Outs or anything in the deck, so there's no way I survive this. And I don't have another land, so I can't even get a Stamina here. I mean, I might as well Village Rites in response. I mean, that's decent to rebuild, but not the best thing ever. Sacrifice. We'll make him discard a card. So Lembas, sack the Beetle, sack the Vampire to itself. I mean, they have 2 cards in hand, but we're pretty far behind now. Refurb. I guess it's got to be Rite of Consumption. Skyfisher. Refurb. Alright. I am dead. Not going to be able to make it out with just one of those cards in hand. I kind of forgot about the fact that they would also be playing Krark, so it's possible the Fiends and the Tragic Slips are actually probably better. We tried the Zubera thing, it didn't work. Let's just get rid of those. And Beckoner's pretty expensive when they have that, so I'll cut a couple of those too. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to be pretty annoyed by the tap land again, because I can't Fiend on turn 2. I still think I Feeder It's susceptible, but just in case I do get a swamp. And then I can Fiend. Okay, that's interesting. I guess I Dark Ritual into Fiend Stamina and I take 2 cards from their hand. So go for the Fiend. It resolves. Well, I guess they're going to Landscape first. Then we'll Stamina it. Sacrifice. Comes back. So they get a thing. And then it dies. Comes back. There's so many triggers here. I've done this wrong before, so I'm trying to make sure I do it right. Sacrifice it again. Card comes back. Boom. Take a card. So Lightning Bolt, Galvanic. It's probably got to be both of those because I'm kind of all in on this feeder here. Then they have just Synth, Glinthawk, Refurb. They can just Synth next turn. And if they don't, which they might not want to, then I get to take that. This is going to be a 3/3, so I guess I could take Synth and Bolt, and then the Galvanic can't hit, and then I can Mesmeric Fiend again next turn if I want. That actually might be better. So take the Bolt, take the Synth. Yeah, I think so. Hit for 3, and we'll see what happens here. I mean, like, it's decent to be able to tear apart their hand like that, but we only have 2 cards left. I can also take the Galvanic Blast. Then with their value with the Refurb and Glinthawk, it could just be difficult to do much here. Beckoner doesn't do much, so I just go for the Fiend. And I might want to keep the Swamp to discard to the Refurb. We gotta see, because I might have to take the Galvanic Blast. I think I take the Refurb. Galvanic Blast, this is a 4/4, but they don't have any other artifacts, and then these 2 become useless. And they can't attack our hand. Useless because they can't have anything to pick up. We're going to go for that, and then because of that, I'm going to play the Swamp. They have left Skyfisher, Galvanic, Plains, and Glinthawk. So they can start playing these, but they have to pick up lands, which isn't bad. They drew another Refurb, which all in all is not the worst thing ever, but is a little annoying because I did just get rid of that. Shambling Ghast wouldn't be bad here. Okay, Carrion Feeder. I can make this a 5/5 so it doesn't die to a Galvanic Blast, but they're going to get value from the Refurb. It is 3 mana because they only have 1 artifact, so I guess it's really not that big of a deal. Like, if they draw a land here, maybe they can Glinthawk, pick it up, and replay it. I don't know. I'm not going to say triple Thoughtseize is not a good start, by any means, because it is pretty good. But, again, this feeder dies and we probably lose. Then again, they're at 9. I guess if this feeder dies, this becomes a 2/2. I could definitely still get there, but it's a precarious spot for sure. They have a Skyfisher. Are they not picking up Refurb? Because they didn't even attack. Yeah, they pick up their Plains. Play the Glinthawk. What new cards are we trying out? We're trying out Baron Moore, Perigee Beckoner, Dark Ritual, Ashen Skin Zubera, Corrupted Conviction, Ghoulcaller's Chant, a couple others. List to Airplay, absolutely. Yep. Their list has a lot of cards that I wouldn't usually run, so I thought it was interesting. We're going to give it a try. So if I attack with this feeder, well, we're playing this Vampire regardless, so it doesn't really matter. Attack with feeder, they could double block and then Galvanic Blast. That's probably fine. I mean, if they double block, I have to sacrifice to make it a 5/5, then I eat their guys, then they Galvanic. Yeah, it's fine. I can't attack with this 1/1 though. They probably have to at least jump block. They did intentionally play these 2 guys, so yeah. They do that, sacrifice Vampire to make it a 5/5, and then I'll go to damage. I'll eat both of their guys, then they're going to Galvanic Blast it, and I'm going to make this other feeder a 2/2. Not a terrible trade, a 3-for-1 there. Well, 3-for-2 because I had to sack the Vampire. But we just have a 2/2 now. They still have 9 life. We need something to be able to attack here. That's a pretty good one, I will admit. I'm just going to use it to pick it off right away so they can't have an Ephemerate or anything. But if they do get like a Tithing Blade, that's unfortunate. I guess they probably won't be playing Tithing Blade post sideboard because it's not generally the best against us. But a Lightning Bolt kills this. Cleansing Wildfire, sure. And they have the Bolt. So they're at 6. We'll play an Infestation Stage, but we're starting over. This is going to be an interesting one. They're going to start accruing a lot of value and stuff. Kark's not the worst here, honestly, especially because this becomes a flyer. They might just trade here. They'll probably save it for at least a couple of turns, actually, which I think is fair. Really depends on how they draw, though, because if they get, like, Synth into Bird into whatever, and they have a draw 2. Yeah, it's tough. Another draw 2. Pretty good. There's the Synth into Bridge. They have the Glinthawk, though. Into Lembas. Yeah, this one's not looking great. Maybe we can get, like, a Vampire and a Rite of Consumption. That would be lethal, assuming they don't gain some life or something, but I mean, with this Kark, it wouldn't quite be lethal because they would just be able to do it in response. Toxin Analysis on top as well. That's pretty good for them. Swing for 2. I mean, Drowning Star is not the worst. We're going to use that now. I could attack, but there's no reason to, because then this just dies and I get a bug that then dies. But I guess they could sacrifice one thing so that still happens. They have a Toxin on top. I probably should take a Vampire. It's not necessarily the best thing ever, but it seems okay. They have Synth into Skyfisher, into Mountain. Play the Synth. Another Skyfisher. Well, another Shaman. We know they have a Toxin, so Vampire doesn't do any good now. Not really. Might as well play it anyway, but... Lembas. Scry to the top. Go for a Wildfire. Play a Bridge. And they swing for 2. For 4. I mean, I'm just going to see what I draw, but I'm pretty sure we're just conceding here. There's no way I can get to lethal, because they have a Lembas, they have a Krark, they have a Toxin. Don't know what this is. Cast on the Fire. I mean, that doesn't matter too much. I sack this guy, and then they bolt it. Sure. We'll take 5. We'll get a Beetle. A bit unfortunate of a way to end there, but that's okay. 2-2. Let's see if we can get a 3-2. Any sort of synth list, Boros obviously, or Mardu, is a pretty bad matchup for us, because they have just so much removal, and adding black obviously does not make that better, so not a good matchup, indeed. We finally have the turn 1 Dark Ritual. We do not have a hand that supports a turn 1 Dark Ritual. Like if we had Fodder, Beetle, Feeder, that's probably your best start with Dark Ritual. This I get to play out a Shamblegast and a Denizen. This hand's just pretty bad in general, so fortunately not a keep. This one's not amazing either, but we'll give it a try. Get rid of a Vampire, I suppose. We're against something blue. Village Rites is decent. We'll start with a Ghast in case we're against fairies. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was Terror. No, Humbling Elder, more fairies. I've not seen a lot of fairies. Mono blue recently, but twice in one league. We're definitely quite a bit better against Terror, but this is not an unfavored matchup. It's just very skill intensive. Unfortunately, it's probably heavily unfavored if we don't have a second land. I mean, I'll attack for 1. If this can draw like a Humbling Elder, then I can get a Village Rites off without them spell stuttering it. Maybe they dispel it or whatever, but that's fine. Oh, they spell stutter. Okay, sure. And then they're going to block? No. Okay, so not only did they let me get in a damage, but they just flashed in a spell stutter for no value. And now I get to Village Rites to try to hit our land drop, and I get to kill off the spell stutter. I really don't know why they did that, but like they should have waited till end step. But I thank them that they did not. It's possible they just wanted to get it in for like an F1 Mind or a Ninja or whatever, but like they just did not do it at the right time. We're not going to block here because I really need this guy for our 3 ways to scam a creature, but I expect a ninja to come down, but I can't really afford to block there. There's a Beetle, so we're gonna Vampire and Beetle. Still can't really afford to use this up, so we're just gonna leave it back and hope. Yeah, Force Spike's always annoying. I guess I could attack for 1 now, and I have a Vampire to block here. We'll swing for 1. With 2 Staminas and a Beckoner, I just don't think I can afford to lose this Sage before I've started Staminaing it. So there's no way I'm going to block here. If I have to take a hit from a Ninja, as much as I hate that, I think I just need to do that. I figured they might not attack because I could just block and Sage sacrifice, but I guess the Brian Bearer Intruder would make it so we'd also have to sacrifice the insect, so that, yeah, wouldn't have been something they would have done probably. Another Vampire. All right. Well, here, I'm just going to go for the Beckoner because it's more expensive. It doesn't get spell stuttered. To go on the Sage. Then I can swing. Okay, looked like they might counter it, but they let it go. They're gonna Soothing of Smeagol. Return target non-token creature to its owner's hand. The ring tempts you. Interesting. Well, I'm just gonna Stamina that. But that's definitely some tech I haven't seen before. I mean, the ring tempts you can be relevant in this matchup. They also have the spell stutter, yeah? Guess that works. So I could sacrifice this if I don't want it to go back to hand. If I want the 1/1, which could block here. I mean, this kind of is wrecking us. I was expecting like a snap, which I guess would be about the same with the spell stutter. Because now it's just like I can't have a blocker for both of these. I guess I just let it go back to hand. And this is going away, so I just have a Vampire. I'm not going to just chump the Ninja as much as I don't want to. So I'm going to swing here. Get in for a damage. If they want to block, I'll trade the Beckoner for it. I guess technically, I always forget this. I was supposed to Stamina the Beckoner, because then the Beckoner could re-Stamina this, but it didn't matter because they countered it. But I need to keep that in mind. I think I just hit for 1, and maybe we use the Beckoner later. They have a Fairy Seer. And Birthday Escape, another Ring Tempts You card. I've thought about using these at some point. So they have... It's legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, and whenever it attacks, draw and discard a card. So they get to loot with this guy just by attacking. That's kind of interesting. Fairies does seem like the place to do it. Play a Fairy Seer. Ghoulcaller's Chant. I only have one zombie, so this just gets back a Beetle, which isn't terrible. Or I could just play Sage. It's only one zombie, but I almost want to just get back this Shambling Ghast. Picks off all their stuff. Well, it picks off some of their creatures. Seems pretty good. Gonna play a Sage too, so I could block a Spell Stutter. Yep, they have the Force Spike. Mismatching Force Spikes. Outrageous. Pass the turn to them. Another Birthday Escape, which means this is going to be whenever your Ring Bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at end of combat. So if I block with a vampire and then buff it, it's still gonna die. No, they change it to this Fairy Seer. And another Birthday Escape, which means whenever your Ring Bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. Probably gonna have to Shambling Ghast just to kill this Fairy Seer then, so that I don't take 3. I let it attack, which means it gets to loot, but I need to, yeah, I don't know. I didn't have to let it attack, I guess. I don't know, I haven't played against this mechanic before, so they Dispel. So I want to block here, this Ninja, and then ping this off. But if I go to blocks, then they could have a Ninja. Whereas if I sacrifice this Shambling Ghast now to pick this off, they could have a Snap on this in response. Or another Soothing of Smeagol. I think that's fine, though. I still think we're going to just pick off this Fairy Seer and see if they have a Snap or something. Like I said, I've thought about the the ring, and it's doing some work here. I assume they're probably playing like 4 Birthday Escapes and maybe like 2 of the Soothings. Alright, they get to keep their Ninja. We get a Swamp, so here's a Vampire. And just pass. Let's see. Block, block, and they pick up a Spell Stutter, which means Stamina now is going to get countered. So I guess there's no reason to go for it. I'll just sack one of these Vampires to this Ninja. Well, to this other Vampire to eat the Ninja, that is. Hey, what's up, Ben? How's it going? We get a Shadow Alley Denizen, which gets Spell Stutter sprited, but then I guess our Stamina maybe resolves, which is not great either. Pretty sure we've lost this one, but we will try to keep the faith. Not attacking with a Hacker. And I'll block here and I'll go for the Stamina. They have a counter spell. Alright, we lose this guy and then we're super dead. Tragic Slips, and what do we decide on? The Zuberas were probably better in this one. Cut these, and the Shadow Alley. Alright, we're going to try the Zuberas again, and the Tragic Slips. Alright, we have Dark Ritual into Vampire Ghast. That's okay. I mean, it's nice to have the Ghast up right away. I'm not loving that as much as if I get like a Carrion Feeder and a Beetle, but we'll give it a try. What are the Drown in Sorrow for? A White Weenie. White Weenie is one that you would bring it in against, yes. Elves is a really big one. Like, that's number one reason is Elves. But White Weenie, I even bring it in against Mono Blue Fairies sometimes. I'm not as much with this list, just because I'm not exactly sure what to side out a little bit more. But on the draw, I'll probably bring in the Drown in Sorrow. Red Rally, of course. And any deck that goes wide that usually wants a board wipe, you're going to be bringing it in against. The big thing is that, like, yeah, Drown in Sorrow can hit can kill some of our own creatures, but ideally we can build up a Carrion Feeder or a Beetle big enough that they're not going to die to it. And the 1 mana difference between that and Arms of Adar is pretty massive. You really need the 3-drop Drown in Sorrow to be able to win against Elves and stuff like that. White Weenie's doing well. Lost to it at my LGS with Naya Gates. Yeah, I think White Weenie is often underappreciated. It is one of my favorite decks. I've been playing a lot more, both in person and online. But I took it to my LGS on Saturday, and I got a 4-0 with it. And I've taken it a couple previous times and done pretty well with it, too. So it's a pretty good deck. If they have a Brightbear Intruder here, I don't want to sack the Shambling Ghast for that. So I probably just Sage here. If they Force Spike it, whatever. I do want to draw attention to this start, because a lot of people always ask me, why don't I play Dark Ritual more? I don't know why I attacked with this Ghast if I didn't want them to block it here, because now they just will. I guess they'll trade, it's not the end of the world, but I meant to hold back the Ghast, because the whole point was I didn't want to lose this to the Elder. Whatever. So people are like, why don't you play Dark Ritual? Because it's just speed and stuff like that. Well, in this case, yeah, we got a Bloodthorn Vampire and a Shambling Ghast out on turn 1, which is decent. But, first of all, they've dismantled that pretty quickly. Again, I should have left back the Ghast for sure. But, like, it hasn't actually helped us that much. And now I'm stuck on 1 land, whereas I could have had 2. And yes, I would have had a slightly slower start, but not that much slower. And I would be a lot more consistent. So, yeah, this feels like a good example to me of why Dark Ritual is... Sometimes it's great. I had it earlier and it won me a game. But sometimes it's just not the best. There's a Miscreant. If we attack here and they have a Brine Barrow, it's not the end of the world. I think it's fine. We'll swing. They're going to take it. I'll just deal 2. I could play the Shambling Ghast, but if they have the Spell Stutter, it's kind of awkward. I think I'd rather just hold up the Tragic Slip. But, like, I think we could definitely lose this game. And if we, like, we're nowhere near, like, oh, we got this game in the bag. We could definitely lose this game. And I think we would be in a much better spot if we had just had another Swamp instead of that Dark Ritual. Playing a Hacker out. Oh, I should have Tragic Slipped the Fairy Miscreant in response, I think. Well, they didn't play it. I assume the reason they're casting it is because they have an of 1 mind. They didn't cast it. Maybe they're waiting for post-combat, but I think I just slip the Miscreant now. They could have a Dispel or Force Spike, but then they're not of 1 minding or ninjing, so it's just a damage, not a big deal. We get a Swamp now. I want to be mana efficient and play the Vampire, but I think I just need to get the Shambling Ghast down. They block with the Moon Circuit Hacker. I'll sack the Vampire, and should I sack the Sage or the Ghast? I like having the Ghast around, and having the Flyer's not bad. I think I'll just sack this. Eat the Hacker, pass. And they only have 3 cards. We have a blocker plus a Shambling Ghast. We might be okay here. They're going to swing. I'll trade. If they have a Brine Barrow, I'll pick off with the Ghast. They got nothing. Another Ghast. Well, we'll swing with the Feeder for 3. Then I'll play Vampire, probably gets counterspelled. No, doesn't. I'm trying to figure out what they have in hand then. Could just be a bunch of islands. Bind the monster on the Feeder. Yep, they'll take 3 here. That's not that bad for us. They don't have much else going on. We get a Swamp. So I'm just going to play a Ghast and a Vampire. And we'll swing. If they have a Brine Barrow, they get to eat the Ghast. And I can't do much about it. But if they don't, they just take 2 here. Which I think is better. I have no idea. Their hand just seems like it's... It could be like Dispels, I guess, at this point, but they didn't dispel the other thing. No, they did dispel it. Ninja, sure. That's probably what it is. We get a Sage. Get to attack with 2 Vampires. I can attack with everything, because the Vampire is lethal. I'm going to guess they don't have a 1-mana unsummon. So I think we just go for lethal here. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did my math wrong. That's 9. Alright. We got that game. Yeah, so I think I'm going to bring in the Drowned Sorrow on the draw, just because it's easier to get behind, and it can be really good against fairies as well as those other decks we mentioned. Just waiting for them to load in here. Alright. We have that darn Baron Moor again. Hand is not amazing, but I don't think it's a mulligan. Drowned Sorrow can help us come back from the behind position. Tragic Slip is decent. So I could just play a Sage now, or I could Baron Moor, and then next turn I could, like, Sage with a Tragic Slip up, or Vampire. I think I'd rather get the Sage down. Of course, there's always a Force Spike. I'm just not gonna... Unless it's really dire, I resolve something, I'm not usually gonna play around the Force Spike on turn 1 or 2. That said, I will play around a Spell Stutter. I'm not just gonna run an Infestation Sage out into a Spell Stutter for no reason. There's a Humbling Elder, and they swing for 1. But they got the Ninja. I could Tragic Slip it, but then they Spell Stutter, and that's really bad. I think we'll just let it go. We get a Beetle. Well, we'll play a Sage. I think just hold up the Tragic Slip. They do have an Elder, so we know we're not going to be able to trade with this Hacker, but still chumping it's not bad. Getting the Humbling Elder used. Never mind, they're going to bind the monster. Yeah. I mean, I could Tragic Slip my own Sage to get a guy and then block. Probably makes more sense just to Tragic Slip the Hacker. They have a Humbling Elder. If I go for the Tragic Slip and they have a Spell Stutter, it's not great. Letting them loot here isn't great. I get to resolve a Vampire, I guess, which is okay. I think we are going to try to take this away. Alright, that works. Not terrible. Gonna pass. Don't want to get force spiked if I don't have to, so I'll play a vampire. And then we didn't see a spell stutter there. I think I just go for the beetle. If they spell stutter it, yeah, it's pretty good, but I think it would have been a decent shot to have used it on the tragic slip. So, all right, that's not bad. We have a vampire and a beetle, and I can sack the sage for a flyer. Although I'll probably try to save that until we can beckoner it. Hardcast a hacker. They still have a humbling elder. Carrion feeder. Let's warp this guy onto the sage. See if they want to like bounce it or something like last time. Using the bind the monster on the sage was pretty aggressive. I probably should have noted that a little bit more, that like it was clear they really wanted to get in with the hacker because they're using premium removal on that. They are going to bounce it. That's crazy. So then I could cast it. Like the ring tempts me. I don't care. Yeah, I'll get an extra guy out of this. I guess they could force spike it, but that's fine. And they have a humbling elder, but I can easily sacrifice 2 things if they wanted to block, or 3. Yeah, let's just swing with both. Gonna sack the beckoner because I think I just want some more damage. The damage that stays on the beetle is, I think, worthwhile. They block with a hacker. I mean, they can double block, but that, I mean, a single block here, I still get to just sacrifice 1 thing and eat their guy. So that seems pretty good to me. This becomes a 1/3. Okay, I'm pretty okay with that. They could have double blocked. I still could have just sacrificed the sage as well to eat them both, but like, that was an interesting choice to me. If they attack, they probably want to get a ninja down. I think I'll just block. Sacrifice. Unless they're bluffing there, that means they have a ninja and 1 other card in hand. Rather than the ninja has to be hardcast or something, or just rots in their hand. Dark Ritual, maybe it lets me drown in sorrow later or something, but I think for now we're just doing Carrion Feeder Beetle and swing with the team. Hit for 5 and pass. Birthday Escape. So the thing about the ring tempts you against us is that it's not very good. The unblockable type thing is can't be blocked except by creatures with greater power, but our vampire is always a 1/1, so I can block it and then sacrifice to eat their guy. It works against the beetle or the feeder can't block anyway. It works against beetle if the beetle is too big, but we've mostly had vampires this match, so it hasn't really come up. And so they can attack and they get a loot, but then I get to just trade like this insect for the elder, which is pretty good. Oh, never mind, unless I want to use a bind the monster. 1, 2, 3, 4. The thing about bind the monster is it deals damage equal to its power, so if I could make this lethal in response, then I could just kill them with it, but I can't quite. So we'll just let it deal a damage. They are going to get to loot and get a ninja, it seems, but that's probably fine. Draw and discard, a counter spell. So they got some pretty good cards in hand, but of course counter spell doesn't affect the board. They do have a ninja, but it's an expensive one, so all they have up is the elder, which is probably going to chump block, reduce the power of something else. Shambling Ghast. Doesn't let me pick off the elder, but still a fine card to play. Can we force lethal? Like, they block the vampire, reduce the beetle, and they're taking 1, 2, 3. But I can make it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think I'm 1 short. It means I should probably leave back the insect, because actually if I'm going to use it, I'm going to sacrifice it anyway. So an extra blocker would probably be decent, but yeah. They reduce the beetle, they block the vampire, they can survive. Count one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in that case, I will just keep this alive and just hit him for 4. Yeah, that's fine. They have an island. Also, your ring bearer only resets. Like, it'll only change or go onto another creature if you have the ring tempt you again. So they were able to use it, get in, and then swap with a ninja, but now they don't have a ring bearer. So, like, this is an interesting idea, and honestly one that, you know, is worth exploring, but definitely a little awkward in the deck, I'm seeing. We could trade here. What does trading actually do for me? Not a lot. I think I just sacrifice this to grow our feeder so that we have more damage on them. If we somehow don't kill him next turn, then we can just leave back an insect and maybe a vampire to block, so we can continue to make the ninja not deal damage, and I think this just gives us a better shot at winning the game. Flood. 2 mana, tap target creature without flying. Well, that's crazy. I've never seen this card before. Generally not the best thing ever. Seems pretty good here. They only have 2 activations of it. Swamp is not what we needed. I was going to say, if I get like 2 creatures, I could grow this to be lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so they tap these 2. This card's crazy. Tap the beetle. I mean, it's super mana intensive, but like with the ninja back to draw them cards, not bad. I gain it for 3. I can't afford to sacrifice either of these because then they just get to... Well, actually, Oh, what do I do here? I almost feel like I'm almost worried I'm going to lose to this, because if they can tap 3 of our creatures, they can already tap all 3 of our big creatures every turn, which means that I have to rely just on the insect. If I just attack for 3 here, the insect has to survive 4 more turns. I kind of want to Drown and Star to kill this ninja, but then if I do that, the insect dies, which means I don't have a way to prevent the flood from hitting our stuff. I could sacrifice both of these, say for 5, so that I only have to hit them with the insect twice. But then if they get like 1 flyer, then I can't block and I die. I think I just attack and I don't sacrifice anything. And this is going to force them to spend all 6 mana every single turn to tap these 3. They do get to draw a card, but hopefully they don't have the mana to spend on it. And then hopefully I draw something better than swamps. But I don't know, a card I've never seen before that actually feels pretty good in this instance. But again, we'll see. If they get like an island and get a 1-drop they can play alongside it, it could be pretty decent. There's an island. They just cast a hacker though. Okay. I feel like casting a hacker is like, I guess it can block the feeder, but no, it can't, because now I have a ghast that can pick it off. That's pretty good. Go to combat, wait to see what they tap down. Now they have to have like a flash guy to be able to flash 1-drop, like a Humbling Elder, to be able to survive, I think. Swing. Before blocks, we will pick off this hacker. We'll be hitting for 4. Alright, nothing to worry about apparently. I think if they just hadn't done that, they could have, survived a little bit longer. Obviously, how strong the Shambling Ghast perfectly is nice, but like still, they would have had to chump block. I guess if I drew no creatures, they could have blocked the feeder and would have forced me to sacrifice another creature. That's probably what their plan was, but I don't know. I think they needed to just keep tapping down all 3 of those until they drew something better, but... we ended up with a 3-2. Not bad. I'm sure that I didn't play this deck perfectly because while it is very similar to the main deck that I play, Black Sack, it has a lot of different cards that makes it so that there's a lot of different lines to take. But let's go over them. Never once did I draw the Baron Moor when I wanted to cycle it. It was always in our opener or like one of our first cards drawn, and I wanted to play it, which meant it just felt really, really terrible. There were some hands we had to mulligan, and there were some hands that we just had a slower start because of. I understand more than a lot of people the desire to fix the flooding issue, because even with only 17 lands, you can definitely flood a lot sometimes. But I just don't think tap lands have any place here. I think this deck, literally more than any other deck, even like a mono red deck, I think this deck needs untapped lands, because it's just so key. Like if you don't lightning bolt on the right turn, it's probably not as big of a deal. Sometimes it can be, but like it's so key for us to play a 1-drop on turn 1 and then a 2-drop or 2 1-drops on turn 2 and then 3. It's very important that we do that. And just having a Baron Moor or any land tapped, because I tried Escape Tunnel last week or a couple weeks ago, and that one felt clunky as well. Baron Moor, I've previously tried the Dross Pits. I just don't think they fit here, so I would definitely drop that. The 2 Dark Rituals, I don't know. We had one game where it won us the game because we were able to Dark Ritual into our Rite of Consumption and everything. We had the mana for that. I think there was one where it was decent. Oh yeah, we had the turn 3 infinite combo that was really good off of it. But almost every single time, even the one time we got it turn 1, it just was a little lackluster, and we would have just preferred a swamp. So in general, I'd prefer swamp over it. But obviously, if you also have to go up in your mana sources to 18 in order to, as opposed to like the 17 that I run, in order to make it so that you have enough lands and stuff, I feel like you're just hindering yourself even more. So like Baron Moor makes it so, you can't flood out quite as much, but Dark Ritual with 18 sources makes it so you flood out a little bit more. So I don't know. I think there's this push and pull, and I understand the desire to fix it, but I feel like just 17, or depending on your deck, maybe 18, basic lands is just kind of the way to go. I don't think I will ever understand not running a full play set of Beetles. I literally think this is like, I think it's the best card in the deck in Black Sack. It's not the best by itself, and it needs work. It really needs to be paired with a feeder or a feeder or a vampire. But when it is, I think it's basically always the best card, because you don't have to, it just grows along with everything else. It grows. There's a reason that like the best hand you can have, or one of the best hands, is usually like feeder and then any number of beetles. Or there's a reason that usually when people are killing one of your creatures, it's often the beetle as opposed to the sack fodder. So I would certainly not be playing only 4 of these. We didn't get to Essence Harvest a single time. That's just unfortunate. I would have liked to. Maybe I need to test it a little bit more. Right, Consumption is obviously good. Ghoulcaller's Chant had its good moments and its bad moments. I think in general, I like it less than Unearth. It was really good in, I think, our first match to get back like a Shambler and a Carrion Feeder, but then it was like devastating to like not put a Vampire directly on the field, because this costs, when it's only grabbing one creature especially, it costs 1 more mana than on Unearth, because we're grabbing a 1-drop that we have to also cast. But when it's grabbing a Vampire, it costs 2 more mana, because we also have to cast the Vampire, which is just a lot. And especially against fairies, which we happen to play against twice, Unearth is so much better, because you could, like on turn 3, play a Vampire, and then they spell stutter it or whatever, counter it, and then you have 1 mana to Unearth it right away, and you still get your Vampire on the turn that you want it. Whereas with a Ghoulcaller's Chant, you're just like, okay, well, I guess I'll try again next turn, and you're showing them that that's happening, or you're waiting until next turn, and it just doesn't feel great. This was probably one of my better leagues with Beckoners. We had the infinite combo, which is kind of cool. I definitely didn't use it quite right with the staminas, because I don't play with it enough, but it still felt pretty clunky. 2 mana, not as much as some matches, or some leagues for sure, but 2 mana for this effect is a lot. I certainly like the stamina better, but I understand that lists are running both. Like usual, I think Beckoner is just kind of a preference thing. It depends on if you prefer that. I don't usually. The extra 2 Corrupting Convictions really didn't come up. I don't think I drew them almost at all, which is weird. And we did sideboard them out quite a bit, to be fair, because it's an easy card to sideboard out if you don't know what else to cut. And I think just like our creature counts, like our fodder is low. I usually play 14, which is only 1 more than this, but I've actually been trying to up that. Like I've been thinking about upping that to 15 or 16. And so it felt a little low sometimes. And the Shadow Alley Denizen, another one that just didn't come up. I did sideboard it out in a lot of matches, but there were some that we kept it in and it just wasn't right. I really wish that it triggered on itself. Like if it entered and instantly gave something Intimidate, I think this card would be pretty good in this deck. But the fact that you draw it, and if you don't have a way to make a black creature, it's just like a dead card, is kind of unfortunate. So sideboard plan, we didn't get to use the Scorpions, and the Ashen Skin Zuberas. I'm probably just not exactly sure when to be bringing them in, because they aren't something I play with a lot, so I need some more practice with that. But I think having no Graveyard Hate is probably a mistake, especially with so few removal spells. If you want to do no Graveyard Hate against a Spy combo deck, that's fine, I think, as long as you have enough removal. So like my main deck runs 2 Snuff Outs, and then now we're at 3 Dredging Slips on the side. I could have brought in the Marauders, but I just think Marauders not very good in that matchup. So I think if you're going to go no removal, or if you're going to go no Graveyard Hate for that matchup, you need to have like 3 or 4 Tragic Slips here, maybe some in the main deck, or some Snuff Outs or something. I also run a Spinning Darkness. So like I run about 6 single target removal spells in my main deck and sideboard that helps with those matches, not to mention 2 Rotten Reunions. So a lot of cards to evaluate, a lot to go over. Again, I said at the beginning, this is Airplay's list. They've gotten several trophies with this list, so I'm not saying it's a terrible list. I'm saying how I see it, my opinion on it, and how it fits with my playstyle. I think a lot of these cards don't. If they're cards that you like or you want to try out, I think you should go for it, because clearly you can still trophy with it. But if you're here for my 2 cents, that's what I got. So as far as the YouTube video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.